Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Lionheart Radio. How are you guys liking this new Thursday show format? In fact, how are you liking the show at all? We would love to hear from you. Send me some feedback, rick@louaviv.com, or do us a huge solid, head over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating so we can beat the hell out of the other podcasts, and we will do our best to continue to bring you as much original, valuable content as we possibly can. So today I spoke with Kat Bradley, and what's particularly cool about this episode is that we get to see what it's like to transition into becoming a professional athlete. Last year, Kat was a school teacher. Now she's a paid runner who has won arguably the biggest ultramarathon in the world, certainly in terms of exposure. Kat offers us a really candid view on what she did that got her to this point, and I think there's a lot that we can definitely take away for our everyday lives. So I really appreciate y'all taking the time. As always, thanks for joining me. Without further ado, Kat Bradley. All right, thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. I'm your host, Rick Alexander, founder of Lou Aviv in San Diego, California. And today I am joined by ultra runner Kat Bradley. Kat, thanks for being on.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be on.
Ultra marathon running, admittedly, is pretty small, but it is growing for sure. In the last few years, it has grown, I think, exponentially. Even like 100Ks that I do, it seems like even like the smaller ones in Virginia are still like sold out. Like,
yeah.
Seems to be growing like crazy. And you just won, I would think, what would be considered like the Super Bowl of ultramarathon running, right?
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
Do you feel like a Super Bowl champion?
When I crossed the finish line, that like moment right before I did, totally. But since, not really, I'm still the same old person. Just, a lot more people know my name, I guess. Which, as you said, like it's such a small sport that, the people who know it feels like a lot of people know my name, but in reality, no one does,
Yeah.
because, yeah.
Well, so the sport is small, but the Western States 100 is a pretty big race, right? Like, I mean, I'm not sure how many competitors there are, but I know there's a lottery and it's super hard to even get a spot.
Yeah. So I got in off the lottery and I think I had like less than a 1% chance of getting in. And that's crazy because thousands and thousands of people put in their name and probably hundreds of thousands, but only like 300 people get in or something. So
okay.
Crazy.
So
yeah.
Can you explain that for the people listening? Like, so you have to qualify and then on top of qualifying, it's a lottery, or how does that work?
Yeah. So first you have to run 100K in under a certain time. First it has to be a qualifying 100K. So only certain 100Ks qualify you for Western States. Okay. Then you have to, and it's 100K to 100 miles. And you have to run that 100K or 100 miles in under a certain time. It's a pretty generous time, but
okay.
You have to do it in under that time. And then this is how I got in. You put your name into the lottery with 100,000 other people and cross your fingers.
Right.
And which I just put in because your lottery tickets accumulate every year. So I only had one this year, but if I didn't get in this year and were to put in next year, I would have had two, and it just every year you get another one.
Okay.
Every consecutive year. Or you can also race in. So I wasn't planning on doing Western States, so I didn't even try and race in. But there's a select few of they're called golden ticket races, and you race into if you get first or second in like four different golden ticket races, and you get a chance to run it. Yeah.
So is that how the top runners, they seem to do it every year? Is that how?
Yeah. Well, or if you got top 10 it's so competitive that getting like in between 1 and 10th place is like a really big deal, and it's celebrated all year. Like 10th place is celebrated as much as first place, which is, I think, is so cool just because it brings like a lot of competition and talent. And so if you get in one of those top 10 slots, you get invited back the next year.
Okay. So yeah. So I talk about this a lot. I always have an idea of where I think the show is going to go, and then it just goes somewhere. But I always I think about the overnight success a lot, because typically what I see happens is, especially in the business world, somebody will grind really hard for 10 years and then they'll get some little bit of momentum, and then they'll kind of like come on the scene, and everybody's like, oh, overnight success. And it's like, well, yes, that I worked 10 years behind the scene, like crushing it. So I'm just curious for you, like what did your life look like, your racing life look like prior to Western States 100?
Well, that's kind of, so I started racing ultras back in 2013, and it was more of just like a hobby. Like, I had a lot of awesome hobbies that I did. I just really liked being outside. So I was a raft guide. I skied a lot. I did a lot more backpacking than I did running. And so I'd like not train at all and then hop in a race, be just, off zero training, off zero running. And then,
right.
I'd like do okay, but it'd take me a really long time to recover. And I'd be like, I won't do that again for a while. And then in 2014, 15, I kind of did, and that lasted for like 2 years. And I was just like, I'd jump in and then I'd like, just ride my rafting fitness, because rafting gets you really fit. And then in 2015, I did pretty well at a 100-mile race, the Bear 100, off, again, zero training. And I was like, like I really like the 100-mile distance, and like I'm kind of good at it. So then I actually started to train, and by train, like I meant I'd like go out and run with intention. And then it wasn't till last year when I won it was like my first win ever. And then I was like, okay, maybe I should try and, train a little harder. So I, still full-time job, didn't have sponsors or anything, but just got up. I'm a teacher, so got up in the morning before school and put in the miles, and got into Western States, which worked out, and it all came together.
And so you're a teacher still?
Well, I actually got laid off last March, so I was able to finish out my school year till June. But next year I'll just be substitute teaching and running and doing some freelance writing. But I was really devastated when I got laid off, but blessing in disguise, I guess.
Right. Did it give you, did it seem to free up more time for you to train?
Oh, totally. So, but I had the entire year last year of teaching. So I was able to finish out the school year. So in terms of training for Western States, it still wasn't a lot of time. But, and I would still be, as a teacher, I'd still be on summer break now. So I haven't really, seen more time than I would have had open up yet. But starting next year, this whole year, that it'll be a ton of time. I can substitute teach when I want to, or I need a little money, but mostly we'll just be doing a lot of running events and a lot of writing. And I'm going to go get my special ed cert too, so I can broaden my expertise as a teacher. So
okay, sweet. All right, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's good. So let's start with when you started training. So running with intention. Did you get a coach? Like, what did that mean to you?
Yeah. So between 2015 and this season of 2016, so last year, I did not have a coach. I was just self-trained, and I was like, I just wanted to, I had no intentions of like trying to become a pro. I was just like, I want to race and I want to, reach my potential and like whatever that entails. And then I did well. And then David Roach actually reached out to me at the end of last season. So it's like September of 2016, and was like, just, he has an eye for people who he thinks can be, good at running. And he I want to say an eye for talent, but like, I don't, it's weird saying that and including yourself in that, but
well, I mean, but one of the biggest ultra there is, that's some talent.
Oh, shucks. But yeah, he reached out to me and he was like, Kat, let me coach you. I won't make you do anything that you don't want to do. He knows that I'd struggled with like different coaches in the past, and he, and he was great. He was just, would send me texts in the morning before I got up to do my run in the morning before teaching. And he was in California, so he was behind. This is like 4:30 in the morning. So he was great, and he just helped me stay on top of my game and like kind of give me structure, which was super helpful with such a busy schedule. And yeah, I owe a lot to him.
Yeah, for sure. So why did you struggle with coaching beforehand? Because I think there's a lot of people that probably do.
Yeah, so not just within this sport, just in when I was running in college a little bit, I struggled, and like I just especially males coaching females, especially young females like myself, like 25, but when I was being coached as a 17, 18-year-old girl as a freshman in college, I just really didn't think it was appropriate, so I was trying to stay away. But David
Wait, why?
I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. I just don't think college running. I think for a young female team, there always should be a female, like leader, some kind of leadership that's not just the male figure. I think it's really, it kind of can screw with young women's heads,
And you think that's like
it's not always the case, but
yeah, from like a mentor standpoint as well, just like
yeah, from a mentor standpoint, and from a lot of times if it's just like, it can get kind of cultish otherwise instead of like role model-esque,
okay. Sure.
So yeah, but yeah, nothing. David's more of a friend than anything like that. So, and that's also really helped too.
Okay. And do you think that's what that helped your success, him being more of a friend, or was it the way that he was programming for you?
I think it was the constant communication. We talked every single day, which is, super, super rare of any coach in this sport, especially when we're both working full-time jobs on top of running. He was an environmental lawyer. I think he just stepped down to be a full-time coach, but we both had full-time jobs. We were both running, 15, 20 hours a week on top of that. And he made the time to like talk to me every day about how my workout was feeling and like adjust. Cause he'd write my workouts a week in advance, but maybe 2 days out of the week, I'd actually do what was on the plan and we'd kind of restructure it yeah.
Okay.
But it's still like what he told me to do. It's just like I restructured it, or we did together. So yeah.
Cool. So as an ultra runner who's now, I would say, at the top of their sport, how many times a year are you racing, or are you peaking for certain races? Because as you said, you didn't even plan on doing Western States.
Yeah. So I knew in December that I was doing Western, so I did have a lot of time to train and peak for that. But then I intentionally did not sign up for anything after Western States, because who knows how long it takes you to recover. And I didn't know I was going to win, but like still, with the win and the the new spotlight or not, I just wanted to make sure I recovered 100%, because hundreds, I don't think everyone realizes how much they take out of you, and maybe they just take out more of me. But you can't think you can over race. You can't think you're invincible. So I just didn't sign up for anything. I'm kind of tentatively looking at some stuff right now for fall, but we'll see. I have no clue what that is yet, and but I only do like two really big races a year.
Okay, at the 100-mile distance.
At the 100-mile distance, I do 100, but like at that intensity,
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so like I have two like races that I actually peak for, where the other ones are just kind of training.
Okay. So as far as recovery, so the Western States 100 was a month ago, about?
Yeah,
About
6 weeks ago.
How do you feel now as far as recovered percentage-wise?
This week is the first week that I feel 100% recovered.
Okay. So a month.
And I'm back running. Yeah, it's or a little over. It's like 6 weeks. Oh yeah, a month. And I took 3 weeks where I didn't run a step. And then the next week, I think I ran a total of like 10 miles. So that's just a series of 2-mile runs. Right. And I did some swimming after that third week, but I really just didn't do anything. I let myself eat a lot of cake and get out of shape. I really ate a cake this big. It was in like less than a week. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably weighed more than I did.
Right.
But I just let you have to get a little bit out of shape to really fully recover. So that's why I'm a firm believer in just not doing a thing.
Yeah. Well, there's like the physical recovery, right? And then on top of that, there's the mental aspect that you have to recover from. Because that much training and that much focus into anything, it's just really easy to get burnt out.
Oh my gosh. So like up until this week, actually, I wasn't training. I was like going for runs when I felt like it. And David and I, right after States, he was like, how about we just like talk every day, but we don't make you a plan for the next couple weeks after states. And that's like the most helpful thing that could have happened, because I just ran for the reasons why I started trail running in the beginning. And that really helps the mind. And so does that 3 weeks off, because, you know, when you do something every single day and then suddenly it's totally ripped apart from your life for 3 whole weeks, you know, the first 2 weeks you're like, yeah, I've got so much more time, you know, I'm gonna go to the farmer's market, you know, stuff like that I would never do. But by that 3rd week, you're really itching to go out, but you're kind of making yourself not still. So then when you do go out, you really do enjoy it and you appreciate it.
Yeah, it like makes you hungry, right?
Exactly. And not even hungry to race. But I wasn't hungry to race again until like this week, but like hungry to just like be outside again, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And just, absolutely having that space from it, it definitely creates that just desire to do what you originally intended to do, which was just love running, right?
Exactly. Which is so lost in so many athletes, you know, just that kill themselves for racing.
Well,
I never want that to happen.
Right. Especially when you try to get to that really high level, that's when you start like losing focus, and you know, it's really hard.
Well, I think
that time away.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to be at that level and like race and run for the right reasons, you know. I really try and just race for myself and run for enjoyment. That's something that I really strive to do. So hopefully it lasts. Fingers crossed.
Right. So you try to race for yourself and run for enjoyment?
Yeah. So I run for my own personal enjoyment. Like I enjoy every run that I go on. Even like if I'm like, oh, I feel like crap, you know, I still am getting out and I'm always happy for it. I do that for my enjoyment. Even if even if I'm doing a workout or something, if I don't feel like doing the workout, I never do. I never put that kind of pressure on myself. And then I race for myself. You know, if you are racing for a result or for, you know, to try and get sponsored or like to try and get noticed, or to win, you're never that, you know, you might do that once, but you're not going to have a career. But if you race to improve yourself and improve your own performance, then you will, you know, because you can always be happy if you put your best effort through, even if you don't win, you know. And that was my only goal going into states. I was like, I just want to do the best that I can do on that day.
Yeah. Well, and it's a really, well, obviously it's a really healthy way to look at it, right? But if you're so focused on the result and not the journey, like I think people tend to become neurotic about it, right? And it's super hard to get that 3 weeks off or whatever.
Exactly. And like, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I do struggle, but like, it's always that self-check when I do struggle. And I have people around me who are like, if they see me getting it all obsessive, they'll be like, Kat, listen to your own advice. Because everyone needs that.
So before we move on from training, so you mentioned rafting. How else did you train? Did you do any cross training? Do you lift at all?
No. So during the school year, my time is so limited with teaching. You know, I often put in, you know, like 50, 60-hour weeks, and, you know, and then running on top of that, I don't even have time to like stretch after. And like, I could do 5 minutes of stretching outside before I run, but like at 4:30 in the morning, sometimes in Boulder, it's so cold outside in the winter. Yeah. I'm just a weenie, but I just, you know, during the winter, I don't do anything. Since I've been doing yoga, you know, a couple times a week, like 2 times a week, which I started to do that because I needed a way to, I have a severe case of lazy butt syndrome, and my butt just like does not activate while running. And so I did a lot of research, and yoga helps that. So I've been doing that like twice a week, which, you know, surprisingly, I really enjoy it. You know, I used to think that I never would, because it's just, I was like, I don't want to sit in a hot box with 30 other people and stretch, you know?
Yeah. Just sweating it out.
I know. But I think because it's so challenging for me, I can't touch my toes. Like that's, it's so challenging for me that it goes by really fast because I'm really focused on trying to do it and trying to like, you know, same thing with running. Like I'm trying to like do the best that I can in that class. And it's so hard. I'm so bad at it, but you know.
Yeah. Are you doing hot yoga?
So it's not totally hot yoga, but they turn the heat up a little bit, but it's not like traditional hot yoga. It's
Okay.
a little bit faster paced. I find it's a little dangerous to do hot yoga as a runner, like true hot yoga, because they hold the poses really long. I did like one class and it messed me up a little bit. And so you are able to go way deeper into the poses than you should be able to when it's that warm.
Right.
And then when you hold the poses that long, and that like is risky, especially for the hamstrings. You can really stretch something out.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So I like the faster paced stuff. Like, I don't know what it's called, flow something, but
yeah, I don't know the yoga.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, me either. But it's great, and I think it's really helped.
So how did you realize that's a very intuitive thing to know about yourself, that you have problems like activating your glutes? So how did you figure that out? Or how would people figure that out?
Well, my calves are the size of my hamstrings. I'm a pretty thin person. My hamstrings are like this big, and my calves are that size too. So like that tells me that I'm just activating my calves when I run, and that makes sense because I'm running on my toes. But I also knew that because like my calves grew out of my pants over the winter when I was running more hysterical, but also, you know, kind of when your hamstrings are atrophying because you're not activating your butt, you know, you get injured. So I could just feel it. I could just feel in my runs, you know, that my calves were burning all of the time because I was on my toes, and and it's the only thing that'd ever be sore.
Right.
And then also you can just feel it. If you think something's going on, just like touch it. I just like this morning on my run, I was just touching the sides of my glutes to see if they were working, and they weren't this morning, but
okay.
You know.
Yeah, that's good advice. But I'm sure that forefront running probably does a lot to save your joints and stuff like that, because usually
it totally does, but it's like on my toes, not on my forefoot. So it's, you know, I'm trying to work a little bit on moving my stride back a little bit onto my forefoot instead of just my toes. I was an 800 runner, so I could totally get away with running on my toes, and I've kind of taken that form with me. So I'm trying to get out of that and like put my hips forward a little bit to get my my booty working.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I think that there's like a million struggling bodybuilders out there that want bigger calves. So there you go. Just stop using your ass when you run.
My calves are like twice as big as my boyfriend's calves, who's a lot bigger than me, but like they don't fit in his jeans.
Really? Nice. What kind of mileage are you putting in throughout the week?
Oh, very low compared to my competitors. So I think my coach told me that the like 12 weeks before states, I averaged 66 miles a week with 10,000 feet of vert.
Okay.
And there was big weeks in there, but they're following a big week. There's also a really small week. So I think my peak was 94, and my lowest week in that 12 week period was like 30 or lower, maybe even. So where my competitors are doing like average like 120 miles a week, which is crazy to me. I would break. But yeah, so not crazy. On weeks that I do a lot of vert, my mileage goes down. So just running up in the mountains and stuff, 10 miles in the mountains can take 2.5 hours, where 10 miles on the road takes an hour and 15 minutes, so.
Right.
You really have to factor that in because it's all about time on feet. But so I go off hours a little bit more, and that's like between 12 and 15 hours a week.
Okay. And so is that how he programs for you? He just goes off more like time domain?
No, he goes off how I feel.
Oh, okay.
He has a baseline of miles that we do, and like there's peak weeks, but we never focus on miles or time for that matter. Or he like gives me like run 20 miles today, but if I'm like, hey, I did 15 with 9,000 feet of vert, he's like, oh, that's great. I wouldn't have wanted you to do 20, so we kind of like have this understanding that,
okay,
if it's more vert, down the mileage. And it's also like if I'm feeling like crap, I just don't run, I just take the day off.
Right.
Which is, and he's all about that, which is also very rare in coaching.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely the only way that I think that would work is if you guys communicated a lot, because I just think about a lot of the coaches I've had, and it's like they'll program mileage or whatever it is, volume, and I'll do a lot. I'll feel broken, but I'm like, oh, I got to do what they say, and it never works. So
Yeah.
I think communication, it sounds like, has really been a difference maker for you.
Yeah, and like also you kind of have to know the difference between like feeling tired and fatigued from training and feeling broken. You know, there's a fine line. And so we kind of talk through that too. Again, huge for communication, but like, you know, you really have to be in tune to know that line.
Right.
You know?
How many mornings did you run before class, before work?
Typically 4 days a week.
Okay.
Sometimes 5. Yeah. But yeah, 4 days a week usually.
Have you always been a really early riser? I'm only getting to this because I'm curious about like the habits that kind of like.
Yeah, so I've always been an early riser, like, but maybe not 4 a.m. You know, I've always, you know, I get up at 6 to 7 naturally every single day, even if I try and sleep in. But
okay.
Not that early, but I think it was easier for me than it would have been for a lot of other people who aren't morning people.
Right. Are you running on an empty stomach, or are you eating first? Or?
No way. So that's kind of the reason I like wake up, eat as much as I can before I run. I wake up, you know, there's a lot of people talking about fasting, you know, fasting runs and stuff. And I tried it, but I just get so hungry when I wake up that I think it's, you know, you're not doing any good if you bonk on your run and have to run like 5 minutes per mile slower,
right?
You know, because you have no energy, and then I won't get as much running in. So I eat a really big first breakfast and a really big second breakfast. I'm a really calorie heavy person in the first, you know, until like 4 p.m. Then just after that, I just like snack all day, and then I have like a pretty small dinner usually because I'm full from the whole day. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The fasted cardio, I mean, that's really, typically what I've seen is people care about that for more like the physique and the body composition.
Yeah. Or there's actually a lot of people doing, you know, trying to train their bodies to burn fat stores instead of glycogen.
Yeah.
But
that was the other thing I was going to say.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So I did try that.
And so you tried the fat adapted route essentially.
I wasn't strict, you know, but I tried to eat like more fats in the morning instead of, you know, my typical bowl of like oatmeal with a ton of sugar in it.
Okay.
But I just like, you know, while I was peaking and training, that's when I did it, and I just felt so bad that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So before the interview, we were talking a little bit. You said you hadn't done a lot of interviews prior to the Western States. In the last month, you seem to have done a lot. I'm curious, like, how has your life changed since, you know, before and after?
Well, I signed a professional running contract with Solomon. I think that's a pretty big change in my life, and it has already opened a lot of doors for me. You know, I've been nonstop traveling since Western because of that. And, but also just, you know, I woke up the day after Western States and had 22,000 Facebook friend requests. Not 22,000, 2,200, excuse me. Big difference, but also a lot.
But still a lot, right?
Yeah. And I didn't know how to handle that. You know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like all of my social media handles, just the following went way, way up.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. Like I never expected that. And also just, yeah. And I don't know, I've met a lot of people because of it that I would have never met before, which is kind of cool. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So now technically you're a professional runner?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
You know.
What is that? Like, does that mean that you're getting paid to train and run now? Or, because I'm wondering, is that going to change your season coming up?
It won't really. It'll change my life, or it has, but it won't change my season. I don't have to do like required races and stuff.
Okay.
I still, you know, Solomon wants me to be inspired by what I run, you know, and they know that I'll do well if I'm inspired by the race. So, and you know, they're like, it's a family really. So they, you know, there's not a whole lot more pressure on my running than there was before.
Okay.
So, which is awesome. they just want me to be happy and healthy, which is so nice and such a relief.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Important for continued success, I would say.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So what was your mindset like going into Western States? Did you think that you had a chance at winning?
So I knew I was capable of winning if I had a great, perfect day. And I knew, but I knew 30 other women were literally 30. They were calling it the most competitive women's race in the history of Western States. So
boom, Andrew.
I didn't, but because of that, I didn't put any pressure on winning or places. I had I was like, okay, I want to get top 10.
Yeah.
Cause I'd be selling myself short if I didn't at least have that goal. But as I said before, my main goal was I just wanted to execute. I just wanted to have the best race that I could. And executing's like a whole different battle. The training's one thing, but it's so hard to execute a well-run 100-miler. And that is leading up the week before and to that day, you just have to be really on it. And, and it worked out. And but that was it. That was my only goal.
With ultramarathoning, I think the thing that people maybe don't take into account compared to other sports is the fact that you're out there for so long, it's so much time for something to go wrong.
Yeah. And it is. It really is. And because you're asking so much of your body, any minor thing can throw something off completely. Say you feel, your body doesn't react right to one stroopwafel or something, that's going to throw off hours and hours and hours, all because of 100 calories, But it's also really important to remember in these races that because they're so long, things are going to go wrong. Things are always going to go wrong. Things went wrong at Western States for me, but you can always come back, because you have so much time, you can always bounce back. And even if that means walking it in, it's so worth it because it's such a, big feat, even just finishing 100-mile race that there's so much time that you can remedy whatever mistake you made.
And so let's break down the race for you a little bit. Did you were there times where you kind of fell off of schedule or you weren't executing as well as you wanted to on your plan?
So the conditions were so bad at Western States this year that everyone's schedule was thrown off. It took me over 3 hours to get from mile 5 to 15 just because I was post-holing in snow. Yeah, it was a long time. I was post-holing in snow past my knees. My knees got all cut up because of it. I lost there was, number one, there was no trail because there were so many down trees that they were just kind of putting flags over every 100 yards. And it'd just be on the other side of just 3 down trees. And you'd be like, well, I'm walking, there's nothing you can really do. Right. And then there was really deep mud bogs on really steep slopes without a trail. And so I lost my shoe a couple times where I'd just I'd sink, halfway down my shin and then I'd pull out my foot and then my shoe would be gone. Then I'd have to get in my hands and knees and dig for the shoe. So everyone's day was thrown off because the conditions were unlike any other conditions at this race that this race had seen. And so, so that first, those lasted in the first 25 and I let myself get really frustrated. I was, trying to keep my effort level down, and it's hard to do that when it's so sloppy, because it takes so much more energy to run in sloppy conditions. So
you had to keep your heart rate down and
stay
comfortable, right? Yeah.
And so I was in 30th place, and I was frustrated. I was like, well, there goes top 10. And I did let myself get a little frustrated. I could have handled that better, but at mile 25, there's still some patches of snow, but I said to myself, okay, it's done. You're done with the pity parties for the day. I was haggard. I was already my knees were all bloody from post-holing. I'd look like I just jumped into a mud bath. And then the temperatures were starting to get really hot. And I was just okay, no more pity parties. Whatever happens, happens. all that matters is getting to the finish line. And then I just started focusing on self-care and did that and started slowly moving up. Oh yeah, and I told myself that I wasn't going to let myself get past again, for the rest of the race, which is a really big goal. But, you have to set really big goals for yourself to keep yourself motivated.
Sure.
And then we went through the canyons after mile 25. So you're in the high country at that point in Squaw Valley where it's all alpine. And then you start to drop down and you get into these really hot canyons with a lot of climbing. I think the most climbing of the race is in that from mile 25 to mile 60. And you are just going up and down these massive, beautiful canyons. And they're so vast, but they also retain heat. So it's super, super hot. And my crew was doing a really good job of keeping me cool. So they were putting ice bandanas on me. And I was, shoving snow in my sports bra whenever I saw little patches, and was just really proactive about keeping my core temperature down. And I think I did that better than a lot of my competitors, because that's where I started to pass people. I just picked off one by one and passed, in that section, I passed the 2014, 15, and 16 Western States champions, women's champions. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. So at that point, what are you starting to think? Because now you're probably starting to get into a little bit more of a rhythm.
I'm, even at mile 60, where I was in second place and I could see first place, I was like, I just want to maintain, the race doesn't start till mile 80.
Right.
I'm just going to make sure I feel good, which I didn't, till my only goal was to make sure I felt that good till mile 80 and mile 60. And cause that's when I moved into first, was mile 60. And I went through some really low lows in that section just because I stopped cooling myself because the sun kind of started to go down. But it was still, 100 degrees. Because those canyons just retain that heat, and I didn't even think of that. So I started to get nauseous and I wasn't able to take in food, but, but I guess I felt better than everyone else and, was still able to move relatively well, so.
Yeah. So from mile 45 to 60, you passed 30 people. That's pretty awesome. Or 20.
Yeah.
And then from mile 60, so you held the lead for the last 40 miles too?
35. So I took the lead at 65. So I took it at 62. And then, but I was so focused on maintaining, I didn't even want to take the lead. I was like, it's too early to take the lead. At this point, you're running, at mile 25, I wasn't trying to win the race, but at mile 60, when you're in second place, 62, you are trying to win. So she passed me and, I passed her 62 and she passed me right back, and I didn't care. I was just like, it's the race isn't even on yet. It's the race is in the last 20. It's just surviving up until then.
Right.
And so she passed me back, but then she was feeling really bad. So I passed her back at mile 65 and I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing it. I guess I'm going to lead this race. Exactly.
Yeah. So in a lot of ultras, it's really friendly when you're, for someone like me that's nowhere near the front, we're just kind of hanging out and we meet people and it's really cool. You'll end up talking to people for miles at a time and it's just a really cool experience. What is it like at that level? Are you guys?
Oh, we're chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So EU Wang, who's in second place, I thought, but when I went into the race, if I were to make a prediction, she was definitely in my top. I thought she was going to get a top 3. But I have a lot of respect for her, but she was feeling really horrible. So there was no talking. I had my pacer with me at that point, and we were just chit-chatting. We were talking about our day and things outside of running, and she just felt really bad. So we didn't say a word to each other, or I think we were like, good job, keep going, but it wasn't like a conversation like it usually it a lot of times can be. And honestly, I didn't really have a lot of conversations this race, maybe because the intensity was so high the whole time,
Yeah. Okay. Before Western States and even before ultra running, were you a top performer, in school, in sports?
Yeah. Not in college. I only ran for 2 years. in school, but in high school, yeah, I was competitive, always just really competitive. And I cared a lot more about how I did. Ironically, I've now that I'm at that level, I care less and less about how, of course I still want to do the best that I can, but I care less and less about how I do. But yeah, I've always been a super athletic person, and I've done a pretty wide range of sports, running, wrestling, swimming, a little bit of softball,
You wrestled?
basketball. I did wrestle.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. But there was no girls team. So I did it in a boys singlet, which goes down to your waist. It goes down all the way here. So it just was, my sports bra was showing, and I was wrestling boys, and they hated it. I did too, but I was just stubborn.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you were doing that?
I was in high school, so like
damn,
15,
really?
Yeah, 16, 17, yeah. After I stopped running in college, I decided to, I wanted to join the wrestling team again, and I went to like 3 practices, and then was like, nope, still hate it.
Oh, okay. So, man, how I can't think of a better way to crush a high school boy's ego than to have you.
Yeah.
And
so I did well. I did well in wrestling, but I never got an offensive point. I was just so long and skinny that they couldn't pin me down. And, you're sweaty, so you're really slimy. And so I just would kind of squirm my way out of everything. So they hated it because they were actually good at wrestling. And I just would win because I'd get all my points from escaping.
Right.
And, I was a runner, so I was a lot more fit than they were as far as endurance. So I wouldn't get tired, and they'd just give up kind of eventually, and we'd run out the clock.
Damn, that's really awesome, actually. I think you need to put that in your Instagram bio, like your wrestling record. I feel like that's just as cool as everything else.
Oh, okay.
So do you think that, because you said you were in the 800?
Yeah.
Do you think that all of those sports, even though maybe the time domain and the energy system pathway might be a little bit different, do you think that those sports played into your success now as a pro runner?
I think probably a little bit. Everything plays into what you're doing today, and you learn a little bit. But I think the thing that I did backpacking throughout college and then after college, and has been that above all other sports, that has been the thing that has helped me the most in ultra running, because you just learn to get so uncomfortable, and backpacking is great, and it's such a challenge, and getting, so there's 2 things: being on feet for a long time, being super uncomfortable, but also being alone for a really long time lets you, you get really introspective, and it helped me because I do a lot of like solo backpacking trips, and it helped me kind of like work through some stuff as a young woman back in, when I was 19 to like 22.
Sure.
As a young woman, like I was able to learn how to be by myself and learn how to, work through these things and learn how to be super competent, all things that I take with me when I'm running on trails. So
that's cool. Were you like fast packing or?
It was definitely minimalist, but it's because I had no clue what I was doing.
Really? You just like started just liking to be out there in nature? Or?
Yeah. I like, my first hiking trip was on the AT, my first backpacking trip, and I ended up through hiking it. But I started just planning on going out for a couple nights, and I brought a tarp, no sleeping pad, 2 tarps actually, one for the ground, one that I could put over myself, 12-pack of Budweiser,
okay.
A big jar of peanut butter. My dog was with me, so some dog food, and I think that's it. I think I had like maybe some chocolate or something too.
What drew you to do that?
Oh, I don't know. Antsiness. I was working a couple of really shitty jobs and needed something, to make myself feel fulfilled. And I was taking a break from school. So this is 2011. And I, needed something to help me work through a bunch of stuff, and needed like an adventure, and needed to, we all kind of crave something like that, fulfillment. And I was working at like Texas Roadhouse and a grocery store, and I just, didn't show up to work, went out and backpacked, and I don't think they missed me too much at Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah. Just needed something, so just went out and started moving.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. So moving on, you like from running, from Western States, have you picked out races for this year yet?
No, not yet. I've just kind of started to look at racing again, and talking with my coach about what's next. So I haven't picked out anything or really looked at anything.
Okay.
Seriously.
Do you have plans on doing anything longer than 100? Like the 200s or anything?
10-year plan. I really like the 100-mile distance. I think it's great because I think 200, beyond 100 miles, it kind of can start to feel like fast packing. You know?
Yeah.
Like super supported fast packing, where I really like getting to point A to point B that quickly,
Yeah.
Western States, I ran a lot of it, it's a lot of running.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. And I really like pushing myself like that. And I think you push yourself in different ways beyond that. It's like the same way that I push myself in backpacking if I do a 200-mile race instead of like a running race. So
yeah.
So eventually I'd like to, but not quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I'm running the Tahoe 200 coming up here.
Oh, awesome.
Month. But to train, it's like, damn, I feel like I just need to be like fast packing. That's what
Yeah, exactly.
A lot more than running, but
It's a cool thing. It's like such a cool thing, because what other opportunity do you have to fast pack 200 miles completely supported,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, I'm
cool.
Just an adventure. Like I'm just
very
good adventure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what did you teach and like what grade?
I taught kindergarten. So
okay.
all
so you teach
kindergarten. Yeah. It's like a lot of motor skills and stuff, and like behavioral stuff, and learning how to spell, and yeah. So it's cool. I really liked it. A lot of crafts I got to do, and
okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was actually just reading an article on Instagram that you wrote, the heat stress, the talking about the sauna.
Oh yeah, awesome.
So what got you into freelance writing, and then how do you pick what stories you want to write about and stuff like that?
So I did a lot of freelance writing before I was teaching, like right out of school. And that included ghostwriting. So I'd write articles for people, and they'd put their name on it. But then I got out of it because I didn't really have time. But now that I have all this time, that just opened up. BTR Today, this company based out of New York, gave me a job offer, read my blog. I have a blog, read it, and really liked it, and gave me a job offer to do a fitness column once a week. So this week I'm doing another article. I just sent it to my editor. It's about salt, why athletes need salt, and it kind of talks about the stigma around sodium and stuff, and don't put salt in your eggs. Your blood pressure is going to go through the roof.
Right. But that's also I feel like maybe for the general population less than it is for the athletic population.
Yeah, totally. But hopefully everyone is doing a little bit of exercise, and anyone who's not completely sedentary does, need salt to fully recover from whatever workout they did, even if it's just 30 minutes on the elliptical. You're not going to get the most out of what you just did unless you replenish those salt stores. So you can rehydrate your muscles and stuff, and because your body will not absorb water if you something that got me really interested in this is because, again, extreme doesn't apply to most people, but like during races I would get super waterlogged and I'd just start throwing up because I wasn't taking in enough sodium. And so, and that applies to everyone, if they don't take in, luckily most people have enough sodium in their diet, but if they completely cut out sodium thinking it's the right thing to do, but it's mostly just like kind of debunking like all of that,
right.
Stuff around salt,
right.
It's not evil.
Right. There's a lot of like fitness advice that needs to be debunked, I think. So
Oh yeah, that's my goal as a freelance writer. I'll just go through it all and debunk it one by one.
right. Yeah. Is that how you're picking your articles, or just like kind of what's interesting to you?
What interests me and like based off experiences that I had. So like I wrote about the sauna because I just did so much heat training. I spent, it actually wasn't that much. I just think it's a lot because I had a really hard time sitting in the sauna. Again, like a little cage, wooden cage. But so that inspired that article. I just write about things that like I have a little insight on a personal level, and then can pull research and kind of relate it back to that.
Nice. Is there a book on the horizon?
People keep asking me that. I would love to write a book. Writing has always been my first love, so probably one day I'll write something, but we'll see
when.
Right. I need to be inspired by races. I need just something to kick me right in the butt to get that started. One day I'll just come across something and I'll be like, that's what I'm going to write.
Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah. Last question. Do you take any supplements?
Yep. I'm not that good at it, but I take iron, which I forget probably 4 out of 4 days of the week. I forget to take it, but I should take it every day. And same with vitamin D. I take a vitamin D3 supplement, but I find that if I buy the gummy supplements, I never forget for some reason. So right before this, I went out and I got a calcium and vitamin D3 supplement. So
okay. I feel like, okay. Well, how did you stumble on vitamin D3 and iron?
My coach. So I got some blood tests last year, and right before Canyon's 100K, so not this year, so in April. And they told me 3 things: that I was iron deficient, that I was vitamin D deficient, and I was either the fatty acids around my liver told me that I was either an alcoholic or addicted to sugar. So that's kind of where that my blood test showed that it's similar of that of an alcoholic. It was pretty severe. So that's what kind of inspired trying to go fat adapted.
Yeah.
Or just adapt some of those lifestyle choices or food choices, but it didn't last. But I am a little better about sugar.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Being like actually in a state of ketosis is really hard to maintain. But the good thing that it does is it shows you how much sugar really you were taking in, and so going forward, at least you tend to use less.
I know. So when I got those blood tests back and I made some lifestyle choices, the person at the grocery store by my school noticed. She because I get my coffee, I'd like do my run in the morning and get my coffee on my way to work, and I would go to the bulk section and get a little bag of chocolate. And every single day, this is every day of the school week, and I stopped doing it and started to just get my coffee. And like 3 days into this, it was the same barista every day. She was like, cutting down on the chocolate, trying to cut out sweets. I was like, oh man, if the person at the grocery store notices, you have a problem.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you drink?
Do I drink? Yeah. I have a couple beers a week. Last night I went out to dinner with my boyfriend, so I had a couple drinks. But otherwise, I don't drink that much.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like during season, just like a couple here and there.
Oh, I had 2 ciders the night before Western States. I'm not strict about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm not strict about it at all. I don't limit. If I have a super early workout in the morning, I'm not going to go out and drink. But I'll still maybe have a cider before bed. Sure. Just to, it just I look at it as when I'm in peak training, that's just calories. It's just calories that I wouldn't be getting otherwise,
right.
Which is good for someone who's, just eating as a job, just like running is, when training is such a high volume. So
yeah, for sure. So the Lionheart kicker is the final question, and we try to ask every guest this. If you were given a platform and you could give blanket advice and it were guaranteed that everybody in the world would hear it and it would be translated to every language, they might not all follow it, but they would definitely hear what you said. What would you tell people?
Have an open mind and an open heart. I find that I used to be a pretty closed off person and let a lot of people in my life, but and part of that was just me being an a-hole. I just didn't. I was just so, I don't want to say self-absorbed, but I was very in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's so awesome to like help people and let people in your life. So like just having that open mind and open heart and being open to letting people in, it's so valuable. And like life is about the relationships you've made. And that's the most valuable thing that I've learned from Western states. Like, holy crap, I had so many people there for me, and I've made so many, it was really a reflection of the friends that I'd made in the last 2 years. And like my boyfriend that I met in 2015, it's that. So it's so, you like, wins and stuff are not anything if you don't have people to share it with.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Be open to experiences and to meeting new people.
Mm-hmm. And just letting people in your life, not just meeting people, but like letting people know you and to know them,
Sure. Yeah. So for people that are listening to this and they want to follow along with your journey and support what you're doing, how can they do that?
I am on Instagram at catberad, so CATBERAD, like Cat Bradley, but be rad.
Right. But don't Google that, by the way, because I did looking for information for this show, and it will autocorrect to Catbeard every fucking time.
So that's what my athlete manager calls me, Catbeard, because my Instagram looks like Catbeard.
Yeah. Okay.
Then on Facebook, I have an athlete page. It's just Cat Bradley. And then if anyone likes Strava, I'm a huge Strava nerd. It's just Cat Bradley.
Okay.
I'm on there too. Yeah.
Cool. And what's your blog? I want to check that out.
It's just catberad at like .wordpress.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Same as my Instagram.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah.
Kat, thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And also BTR Today articles.
Yeah.
BTR.
Well,
yeah. Every single week I'm coming out with a new one.
Yeah. How can they find those? On Instagram?
Just look up BTR Today. I always publish them on Instagram, but if you want to check out some stuff that I've written, it's just BTR Today, Cat Bradley. Just Google that and it'll come up with a platform of everything that I've written.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It was so fun talking to you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. I hope that the information from today's show will make you fitter, happier, and healthier. For the show notes of this episode and every episode, head to www.lionheartrad.io. Yep, just like Lionheart Radio. And please, if you have the time, head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. It really helps us to know that we're on the right track in delivering you reliable information and value. As always, feedback is welcome. If you have any comments on the show or like to suggest a guest, send me an email at rick@luavive.com. That's LUAVIVE.com. Thanks for your support, and we will see you next time.
Bitch, I feel good. Don't I look stupendous? My shine is so endless, and shit you can do to end this. Even when I'm dead, niggas still gon' bump that chip shit. Coke, white, Escalade on cinches for you dipshit. So you won't forget this. Midwest nigga be the coldest. Cleveland is